Welcome back. Today we're going to do a really quick one on NF Audio's NM2 Plus. I probably reviewed the NM2 a long time ago, maybe a couple of years ago. It goes back quite a while, and I think the NM2 Plus actually goes back quite a while. I remember when this one came out, I remember thinking, hey, that's a pretty cool set. Maybe someday I will get to review it, and that day is today. So there you go. On the side, it does say NM2 Plus, and that is engraved, which is pretty cool. This one, I think they call it aircraft aluminum, so it is metal but lightweight and nice and shiny. It actually looks very much like aluminum. Also in the box, you do get a 4-core twisted cable, which is actually quite nice. And you do get a tip card with 2 different sets of tips. This one is called Atmosphere. This one is called Balanced. So that is primarily what's in the box. Inside is actually a pretty nice presentation of the tip card and the holder for the IEMs and the cable. And it's actually a pretty nice box. But what is NM2 Plus? This one is part of NF Audio's professional series, and they pitched that for professional musicians interested in monitoring. It definitely changed what changed from NM2, now in aeronautical grade aluminum material and a little more neutral bass. And you can kind of see on the graph what really changed primarily right there. So NM2 Plus is just a little bit more neutral in the bass. NM2 had a little bit more there. And I'll call this one an FTV set. So very much a fit, tips, and volume set. And volume is probably going to be the most important part of this because of the 2 to 4 area. 2 to 4 area is going to bring the vocals super far in front and center, heavy emphasis, and finding the correct volume to match the bass and the rest of the treble is sort of what your job is going to be. And that's why I call this one an FTV set. It's very much a find your volume level so everything sounds as natural as it could be, because they put the emphasis in for you. Now it's kind of up to you to find the right match to your ears and preferences. So the sound, it definitely leans into the clean and clear signature, and that really emphasizes the high resolution clarity is how they would describe this one. And again, it's very much clarity right there in the vocals for monitoring. That is what this whole thing is about. This is a heavy 2 to 4K emphasis set. No surprise if you look at monitoring style signatures. That huge bump right there isn't a surprise, whether it is by NF Audio, the EPZ Star 1, pretty much the same thing. Some game signatures do the same thing. It's very much a way to do a heavy detailed kind of upper mid clean clear style and make sure that those are audible at pretty much any volume level. So this one also works best at lower volumes, so you can get a more even response. Another set where you can continue to lower the volume to almost no volume and still monitor vocals. But it needs some volume for the bass to be present and sound more natural for music. So as I was talking about, they put this heavy emphasis right there. You'll pretty much hear that at any volume just above 0. You'll actually get vocals, and they're very clear at super low volumes. But as you turn the volume up, the bass will sort of fall into place. Some of the upper treble will fall into place. And that will happen as you increase the volume up until a point. And then sort of the Fletcher-Munson curves kind of take into effect. And this part of the curve, the 2 to 4, tends to diverge or split off or rise faster than the bass and the upper treble will. And at that point, you've gone too far. So back it back down so everything is back in balance. And that's how these FTV sets sort of work. You've got to find the natural tuning point at which point they thought it was where everything is in balance. So the bass, again, this gentle arc is a quite nice gentle arc. Sounds just like it graphs. It's a nice balance between sub bass and mid bass that you need to find the balance point with the mids. The mids will rise much faster, as I was just talking about, so play with the volume. The bass rises to a natural balance point, and then tonality shifts bright with more volume. So as I was saying, you'll have the bass kind of fill in from low volume as you scale up in volume. This will fill in, and then at some point it will start to sound bright because of the 2 to 4, and that's the point at which you've gone a little bit too far. So the mids, the focus is on those mids and monitoring mids, so expect a cleaner, more detailed sound. At the balance point, the mids are centered. Bass in the upper treble is just a little bit under, and that keeps your focus right there where it should be. And, the emphasis, again, is very much on sharp, clear vocals. That's the whole tuning. The whole goal of this tuning is to do that, and it does it quite well. So the treble, and a couple things to note here. It is a very much a low volume set with that heavy 2 to 4K, but that is the primary player. The rest of the treble is like the bass, just a step behind. Somewhat still airy due to the low bass presence and not going to hit your ear in the same way if you're very much into air at higher volumes. It's kind of an interesting thing to listen to the treble and how they do it and what's actually audible at what volume. And they sort of bumped up the upper treble just to make it a little bit more audible at lower volumes. And I think that kind of works. Having the more neutral bass curve, again, that works in its favor of hearing some of the upper treble. So yeah, overall, I think they actually pulled that off quite well, where I didn't think it was going to work as well as it did. And then stage, continuing on from the treble, this lower volume, upper treble a step lower. A little hard to get a huge stage, but it actually does have a pretty nice width for a nice presentation, and I think they got that pretty well. But again, the focus is very much centered, detailed, clear vocals, and it does that quite well, regardless of how huge the soundstage is. So that is what I got on the NM2 Plus. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.